And we are live, and welcome everyone to episode 4 of Robbie and Brandon Review. Of course, I am Robbie One Kenobi, joined by, of course, my good friend. He's the other half of this review series, Brandon. Brandon, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem, dude. And this is one that I'm really looking forward to talking about.
Yes, today we are reviewing NXT TakeOver Chicago. Of course, NXT TakeOver Chicago aired Saturday night on the WWE Network from the Allstate Arena in Brandon's hometown of Chicago, Illinois, Chi-Town. And this is going to be a special review because we will be reviewing the show, of course, and Brandon will be sharing with us his live experience, his thoughts on the live experience inside the Allstate Arena. Overall, I thought this was a very good, very entertaining show from NXT. I think this is the best TakeOver special they've had this year. Orlando was very good too, but I just feel like the atmosphere, the matches, not a bad match on this card. Maybe the only bad match on this card was the triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship, and I still thought it was a solid match, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But solid doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Like it. If I had to pick what was the weakest match on the card, I'll go with that. But everything on this card was good to great, and I loved it with a great crowd and a couple shocking twists. Brandon, what was your overall experience at that live show?
Being there in the building live, it was just an incredible experience. When WWE comes to Chicago, you know that you're going to get a lot of real wrestling fans in that building. And you know that, every once in a while, they know that they're witnessing something very special. And I did feel that when I was seeing the United Kingdom Championship match unfold. They were just hot for absolutely everything. It wasn't a sold out house, but still, the crowd was just really loud in the building. They were really loud on the network itself.
Yeah.
Just it truly was, I feel, the greatest professional wrestling show I've ever seen in my life. I've been to several WWE shows now at the Allstate Arena, and I went to one in Rockford earlier this year, but and I've been to a lot of indie shows, but really just being in the Allstate Arena is always a special thing. And being there this past Saturday was easily the best experience I've had of them all.
Definitely, yeah. I was happy for you, man, that you had that awesome experience at NXT TakeOver Chicago. Now, of course, before TakeOver, they filmed, they did the TV tapings for NXT, which was last night's episode. So what did you think of the tapings, Brandon, and what were your favorite parts?
Definitely seeing Aleister Black. I've wanted to see Aleister Black live now for a while, and I finally got my opportunity on Saturday. And he's the real deal. He was the former Tommy End in the UK. I remember he had a really good match with Neville on the United Kingdom Championship tournament, and he got to showcase his stuff here against Kurt Hawkins, and just super athletic. And I really won't be surprised if we see him on the main roster soon. So I really love seeing Aleister Black. I love seeing Drew McIntyre as well. Him and Wesley Blake, combined with TakeOver and the TV tapings, I thought they had the fourth best match on the show. I thought him and Blake just had great chemistry together, and it was the best match that I've ever seen Wesley Blake in his singles career. So that was cool. And seeing the Velveteen Dream was cool. I liked Patrick Clark and Tough Enough, and I hope the gimmick works out for him.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was you always get that post TakeOver episode that's filmed right before the actual TakeOver special. So it's nothing special, but it's not to hate on NXT. It's just a simple 2 or 3 matches and recaps of the show. So those are always fun to watch. I mainly watch the matches. But yeah, Aleister Black is the real deal, man. Like I saw him in the UK tournament, of course, the special match he had with Neville, and then how they brought his character to life at TakeOver Orlando with this Undertaker aura and everything. Just I marked out for that, and this guy's definitely gonna do big things in NXT. But I think he should stay on NXT for at least a year. Like I know they had him on main event recently against Kurt Hawkins, which is great exposure for him, but I still think he needs to stay on NXT, win the NXT championship,
and
then when the time is right, get him called up.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I still say, you know, keep him in NXT, but I'm just saying here, I think WWE knows what kind of star that they have in Aleister Black. And, you know, when the time is right, you know, have him be called up to the main roster. And frankly, I think he'll do big things. I think WWE understands what kind of star they have in this guy.
Definitely. Imagine him when he gets to the main roster. Imagine him versus Demon King Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt. Those are going to be some insane matches, man.
Definitely.
Definitely. All right, so with that said, we're going to get right down to our review of NXT TakeOver Chicago. So like I said, like we both said, hell of a show from NXT. Hell of a show from NXT. Great atmosphere, great crowd. You always know you're in for something special with the Chicago crowds. So without any further ado, let's get this review underway. We kick the show off with Roderick Strong versus Eric Young. Real quick, in the description box, I have Brandon's social media where you can find him, as well as my match reviews, of course, and his review of the show. You're going to get his live review for each match and his show review for how he saw it on the network. So the opener, like I predicted, because I felt like this would be a real good opener, Roderick Strong versus Eric Young. My opinion, a very good match. I enjoyed the slow pace into it, the story, because, of course, whenever you're in a match against one member of Sanity, it's you versus all of Sanity. And what's Roddy's moniker? Roddy versus the world. So I like the storytelling in this match. He got one up on Sanity by jumping him from behind during his entrance. Then he made it an even playing field between him and Eric Young. But even with that little advantage, he had to still fend off Sanity. I did like the slow pacing, the storytelling. I thought it was a very good match. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this match?
Overall, I thought it was really good as well. The crowd in the building was really, really behind Roddy. You know, they really wanted to see him win, which he did. And one thing that I took away, you know, from seeing the match live and in person, you know, I also get this feeling too after, you know, watching his matches on the WWE Network and on TakeOver specials, is that I personally do not want to be in the ring with this guy because he did some really stiff chops here to Eric Young. He did some really stiff kicks. You also saw that in his match with Andrade Cien Almas at TakeOver in San Antonio.
Yeah.
You know, I thought both guys just had tremendous chemistry together. And with the involvement with Sanity was really good here. You know, Roderick Strong kicked Eric Young into all the members of Sanity at one point, which I thought was a cool spot. And yeah, again, just the crowd in Chicago, like, you know, they knew who Roddy was. And plus, I really feel that those videos that they were doing about Roderick Strong's life on NXT the last couple weeks really, you know, helped people out into finding out who Roderick Strong really is. And I think that's a big reason why they were really behind him. And, you know, he had the crowd support and he got a big win. So live, it was really, really good. And I love cheering for Roddy, and on the network, it came out really good too.
Yeah, definitely. The Who is Roderick Strong mini-series, mini-documentary, whatever you want to call it, was great in getting the people invested in who Roderick Strong is. And, you know, with the Chicago crowd, they know who he is from his indie days. But for those that may not know, that was a great way to introduce him to the NXT universe. And with everything going on, the birth of his child and everything, that played perfectly into this match. Because Sanity is all about chaos, destruction, this and that, trying to send you on the right path, which is not really the right path. And I loved, you know, the ending of the match was great with him drop kicking Eric Young into Sanity, because Sanity was ultimately Eric Young's downfall. And then Roddy hit him with the knee, and then he hit him with that wicked suplex, release suplex into the double knee backbreaker. I love that finish. What is that move called, by the way?
I honestly can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, but still, that was sick to see. That was great that Roddy got the win with that move. And yeah, like I've said in my predictions video, I feel like Roderick Strong can be a strong contender for the NXT Championship. It's just a matter of time of, you know, them building him properly and continue to push him properly. And before you know it, we could see him against Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre, or whoever holds the NXT Championship at the time when Roddy is ready to contend. But I thought it was a very good opener. Crowd was into it. Great win for Roderick Strong. I don't think this necessarily hurts Eric Young because Sanity will still do good things. I mean, I think one day we will see Sanity hold all the gold in NXT. They will take over literally NXT, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think this loss hurts him because I just like what he's doing with the faction. And again, this was a win, big win for Roddy, and that's a great way to start pushing him toward the NXT championship.
Definitely, and I would give the match about 3 3/4 stars. And as for, Roderick Strong, being a contender for the NXT championship, I feel that, guys like Aleister Black, guys like Drew McIntyre are ahead of him. But, if NXT were to ever create like a secondary title, I mean, I guess the UK title is kind of that right now, but if they were to ever create a secondary championship, I think Roderick Strong would be perfect for it. Not to say that he could be contending for the NXT title, but if there were ever a secondary belt, he would be perfect for it.
I totally agree. I'm fine with NXT just having, the NXT title, the NXT women's title, and the NXT tag team titles. But if they did a secondary title like an NXT television championship, oh my God, Roderick Strong is the perfect guy for your inaugural champion, while other guys. But when you think about it, I mean, you could put Roddy in the ring with Black, with McIntyre. There's a story you can tell there because he wants the NXT championship, but these other guys are kind of jumping ahead of him. So, hey, you can do some really compelling stuff with those guys there,
Definitely. Most definitely.
All right. Next match on the card, Brandon, was simply a match that was incredible. It embodied what great wrestling is all about. And it was the match of the night. It was one of the best matches of the year so far. You know what? I have to say this is a front runner for match of the year. This was just simply, it was awesome. I mean, what else can I say? United Kingdom Championship match. Tyler Bate defending against Pete Dunne. Oh my God. What a match.
Yeah. It was a wrestling masterpiece. The city of Chicago has had its fair share of great matches, in the All-State Arena and at the United Center, with Brett and Owen in the cage match at SummerSlam in '94. But like I said, when we started doing this review, the city of Chicago or the All-State Arena knew that they were watching something special as this match unfolded. It started off slow in the beginning, but that was to be expected. But after that, it was just 15 minutes of nonstop action, and the fans were absolutely going ballistic for every single near fall. And even though Pete Dunne was the heel, everybody in that building wanted to see Pete Dunne win the championship, and so did I.
Yes.
And just a lot of great back and forth in this match. Again, crowd was just going absolutely electric for it, and it had the correct outcome with Pete Dunne winning the United Kingdom Championship.
Yeah.
I was jumping out of my seat for just every single near fall. Everyone in my section was going absolutely crazy. Got "This is awesome" chants, got NXT chants, got every positive chant under the sun. Oh my goodness, this was just an outstanding match. And I'm not saying this just because I was there live, but I truly believe this will go down as the WWE match of the year. And one of the best matches in NXT history, period.
Definitely. It made me appreciate great wrestling. It reminded me of why I'm a wrestling fan. There was no bullshit shenanigans. It was just two proud Brits going at it to be the best. I love the pace into it. You got Pete Dunne with that joint manipulation, which is cringy, but that makes him such a great talent, a great heel. Yep. Tyler Bate, this young, he's 20 years old. I'm almost 10 years older than this guy, but he is just incredible in the ring. He won me over in the UK Championship tournament. He's been a strong fighting champion. He took on all comers, and then he came up against the guy that he beat for the title. And this was not going to be an easy task. And these guys just went out there. They put on a hell of a show for the Chicago crowd. So you had Jim Ross on commentary for that match with Nigel McGuinness, and watching that live on not live the day it happened, but watching it on the network, their commentary was great. Nigel McGuinness really is passionate about calling British wrestling because he is British himself. I think that really added to the match. Having JR, the old school legend himself, the veteran, made it special. You know, the great stuff in this match that these guys were pulling off. You know, you had Pete Dunne going for the X-Plex, and then Tyler Bate landed on his feet and hit the standing shooting star. That was awesome. He went for the standing shooting star again, but Dunne got him in a triangle choke. And then how about that X-Plex powerbomb? That was
oh my gosh.
yes. That would have killed someone. You know, that was just an awesome move, and it's a testament to how great the British wrestlers like Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne are. Moves like that were just making me go, oh my God, like it was just awesome, you know. And then you had Tyler Bate counter the bitter end with this wicked spike DDT. I mean, he was thrown up in the air and boom,
that was cringeworthy.
Yeah, he dropped Pete Dunne on his head. It was awesome. And then Tyler Bate hitting the moonsault on the outside. Then the standing the corkscrew 450 on the inside. I was like, oh, it was so exciting. It was so much. It was so exhilarating, thrilling. It was just, what else can I say, man? That hasn't been said about this match. You know, it was just awesome.
You know, I talked to a friend after the show, and this is a friend who was at Money in the Bank in 2011. Aside from John Cena and CM Punk, this was the second best match that he's ever seen live. I personally was not at Money in the Bank that year, and I'm continuing to kick myself in the head because I wasn't at Money in the Bank, but this truly was the greatest professional wrestling match I have ever seen live. They tore the house down. This was the match that I was looking forward to most, more than any match on the card, and to say the match delivered would be a complete and utter understatement, because it was a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece of fantasy, and I loved every second of it, live and on the network. And on the network too, you know, Jim Ross's commentary, like you said, added a lot to it. But really, Nigel McGuinness was the one who stole the show here. You know, he really expressed his knowledge of British wrestling, and they just went together like salt and pepper, peanut butter and jelly. It was just as good as on the network than it was live.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate Nigel McGuinness's commentary. You know, it was whoever was going into NXT taking over for Corey Graves is going to have a huge task on their hands, because Corey Graves was just awesome on NXT. I feel like Nigel McGuinness fits perfectly there. And I just really appreciate his commentary. You can really feel his passion when it comes to the UK wrestlers. He does great, of course, with the current NXT roster, but you can really feel his passion for British wrestling and the UK tournament and everything. And it was, I'm so happy they brought him in for the UK tournament. I'm happy he got to call this match. It has to be a career highlight for him. Everything was perfect. Everything aligned together perfectly in this match. And Pete Dunne pinning Tyler Bate with a bitter end in the middle of the ring to win the United Kingdom Championship. It was awesome. What a moment for Pete Dunne. An incredible match. And Triple H I didn't see the interview. Triple H pretty much praised the UK tournament stars and those two guys in general. That was a testament to great British wrestling right there.
It sure was. It was truly a classic, and you know, even if I wasn't there live, I would still give this match 5 stars, which that is my rating for this match. It was truly a spectacle. It really was.
Definitely. It was the right match with the right pacing and the right arena. I mean, I don't think the match quality would have changed in any arena, but I think Chicago it had that special feeling because they were witnessing something special, like you said.
They were witnessing something very, very special, and I just could not be more happy that I was there in the building live to witness that. Just hats off to both men. They tore the freaking house down. And I felt so sorry for the women, you know, after that match, but we're going to get to that in a minute.
I'm going to call it right now. I think at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, we get the rubber match. And let me just say this, because I don't know what else they have planned for the card. The final match between Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, let it be 30-minute Iron Man match.
Ooh, that would be sweet.
Yeah. Let it be. I would say 60 minutes, but here's the thing. You know there's going to be a major NXT Championship match, a major women's title match, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yeah, I think 30 minutes would be perfect for those guys.
Most definitely.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, like you said, Brandon, next match was the NXT Women's Championship Triple Threat match. Asuka defending against Ruby Riot and Nikki Cross. And you know, like I said in the beginning, this was a solid match. I thought it was a good solid match. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was bad. But like I said, if I had to say what was the weakest match on the card, I'd go with this. But again, it wasn't a bad match. But I think part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it as much was, or I thought it was just solid, was because I really want to see Asuka and Ember Moon. I understand why they did this triple threat is to keep that feud and Nikki Cross and Ruby Riot's feud going. I felt like maybe they could have done something different for the NXT Women's Championship match. But I am happy that the women did get you know, they had this match. I'm happy that they each got in their offense. They each got a moment to shine. Ruby Riot, the former Heidi Lovelace, I think she's awesome. I like her character and everything. But what I really wanted to see was I wanted to see Nikki Cross and Ruby Riot in a Chicago street fight.
That would have been kind of cool. You know, I feel that not having Ember Moon in this match, it kind of sort of hurt it. And I really, really did want to see Ember Moon live. But, you know, I wanted to touch on, you know, just feeling bad for the women. You know, the crowd was just in the building was really, really quiet, I would say, throughout most of this match. But, you know, Ruby Riot got to show her stuff. I thought she looked really good here.
Yeah.
And, you know, the finish really, I felt, took the crowd out of this match. You know, they really didn't react the way that I thought, you know, they were hoping. But, yeah, you know, it was a good match, but again, the crowd was just really, really dead for it.
And this is nothing against the women. I think it's just that we wanted something different, or we wanted the Asuka Ember Moon rematch, because Nikki Cross and Ruby Riot, their rivalry is its own story, and I know there's going to be something big between them in the future. I hope it's a Brooklyn street fight at NXT TakeOver Back to Brooklyn, because you can do great things with those two. But yeah, you know, like I was going into the match, I wasn't saying, oh, this match is going to suck. I just wasn't looking forward to it as much. And like I said, it was solid. It's nothing against the women. It was just I wanted something different. I guess but I guess because there's no one else really you can put in the ring against Asuka as a credible threat, you had to do this match. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, most definitely. Like it's almost like it's like either they want to still keep this belt on Asuka, like until the winner of the Mae Young Classic is determined, or they're waiting for Ember Moon to get better for them to put the championship on her. I thought she was winning the championship in Orlando, but they didn't do the switch.
No, and that still shocked me that Asuka retained in a heelish fashion. But Asuka's doing a great job as this diva, this heelish diva. You know, she's got this ego. She thinks it's all about her. And she's gonna. I mean, did you see NXT on Wednesday when she was in the car being interviewed?
No, I didn't see that.
It was hella funny. It was like she's getting interviewed. They're asking her questions about her opponents. She doesn't even take the questions serious. She gets out of the car. She says she waves to the fans, everything. She does a video or something with them, and then as she's walking away, she's like, and I love it. She's doing such a great job as a heel. She's still a dominant fighting machine, don't get me wrong, but she's got this ego that's, going to eventually come up and bite her on the ass because she thinks she's just unstoppable, and I'm loving it. NXT has built this seemingly unstoppable machine in her, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, but the match, like I said, it was solid. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't a stinker. You know, Ruby Riot did her stuff. She hit a nice Lita Karana on Asuka. Nikki Cross did her thing too. I like when she did the reverse fallen DDT onto Ruby on the apron. And the finish, yeah, the finish was lackluster, but I like that she actually, you know, Asuka hit after Ruby Riot knocked out Nikki Cross with the Pele kick. Asuka hit her with a Shining Wizard and then pinned them both. So I like that. That was cool that she pinned two at the same time. But really, I guess you could say this match was filler for the NXT Women's Division, just because either they're going to have the winner of the Mae Young Classic dethrone Asuka, or Ember Moon's going to dethrone Asuka in Brooklyn.
We'll see what happens, but I think by the summer is when Asuka is finally going to suffer her first loss.
Yeah, yeah. Or she may never lose the belt, dude. I wanted to do this video a long time ago about what if what if Asuka never loses? What if she retires from NXT undefeated? I thought, like, what if that's a major possibility? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, anything's possible in WWE.
Well, in NXT, anything is possible. So in WWE too, yeah, but I mean, NXT would really make it special. Either Asuka's gonna fall or she's gonna just leave NXT undefeated, and that's gonna bring a huge aura to the main roster. But then again, do they do that on the main roster, or is it better to have her lose on NXT, even if it's once, and then when she comes to the main roster, have her rack up wins for a few months, and then finally lose? So she's not completely invincible, because if you have her just lose on the main roster and never lose on NXT, it's kind of gonna hurt her, you know?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, but solid match. The women did their thing. Could have been better. Like I said, I just really wanted Asuka Ember Moon 2 and Nikki Cross Ruby Riot in a street fight, but we're probably going to get it in Brooklyn. That's what NXT does. They don't do the same match 50 million times like on Raw. They make the matches mean something, especially rematches. So
yeah, and I really do hope we get to see Asuka and Ember in Brooklyn, with Ember Moon hopefully winning the title, or the Mae Young Classic winner winning the title.
yeah, if it's Asuka Ember Moon 2, I want Falls Count Anywhere and Ruby Riot and Nikki Cross. If their feud keeps going until then, it should be a Brooklyn street fight.
But hey, you got two matches right there for Brooklyn, and we'll talk about Bobby Roode in a minute and who I feel he should face in Brooklyn.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna. Well, you know what? Let's get to it right now. So this really surprised me when it happened. Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami. Bobby Roode, of course, the glorious NXT champion, defending his title against Hideo Itami. This really surprised me, Brandon, only because I didn't expect this match was going to come next. But when I found out it was next and the main event was going to be the Tag Team Championship ladder match, I said, okay, something big's going down in the main event, though. Something has to be happening, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami, I thought this was a very good match, Brandon. I feel like Bobby Roode had better chemistry with Hideo than he did with Shinsuke Nakamura. And this is not a knock on Shinsuke, of course. I just felt like this match for Bobby Roode was better against Hideo than it was because I feel like the matches with Shinsuke, while very good for the most part, were not as great as I was hoping they would be. But this one, I felt he had better chemistry with Hideo, more of a hard-hitting match. I enjoyed the story that they told. What are your thoughts?
I thought this was a great match, actually. You know, Bobby Roode coming in, the glorious, us singing the glorious theme song in the building was absolutely just so much fun to do.
Yes.
I put out a couple of videos on Facebook, you know, of me and the crowd singing along. It was definitely a fun experience. And then Hideo Itami coming out, you know, everyone went crazy for him as well. You know, I said this in my review that I did on Sports Authority Shorts that, you know, time and time again, Hideo Itami has just been screwed over in big moments that were supposed to be, you know, his moments. And you know, he was out for 15 plus months with a shoulder injury. And I'm still convinced that, you know, he was going to be the one that was going to take the NXT championship off of Kevin Owens at the Beast in the East show that they did back on the 4th of July 2 years ago. Of course, that didn't happen. Finn Balor won. I think that's a great what if question. What if Hideo Itami doesn't get hurt? I think the whole landscape of WWE would change. Just time and time again, he gets screwed over. Doesn't have his big moment. You know, finally he's here in Chicago. You know, he's challenging for the NXT championship, but I just felt, you know, it just would not be his moment this time. You know, Bobby Roode, he's done great things with the NXT championship. They had, I thought, a really, really great match here. I thought this was the third best match on the show. And, you know, the crowd really was behind Hideo. They went crazy. I thought they were going to boo him for hitting the GTS, but from what I can remember, they didn't boo him. But he hit the GTS, and Bobby Roode rolled out to the outside of the ring. And I like the finish. I actually really do like the finish. You know, with Roode hitting 2 consecutive glorious DDTs, he retains. I really enjoyed this match. I really did, and Hideo put up a great fight, I felt.
Yeah, Hideo Itami, I feel bad for the guy because he was the one that was supposed to dethrone Kevin Owens in Japan at Beast in the East. And I don't know if you noticed this, but when Finn Balor won, Hideo Itami had this kind of like bittersweet look on his face. And I was thinking, okay, if Hideo comes back and he challenges Finn, he could turn heel from that. I don't know if you remember that when Beast in the East first aired, but I remember that look in his face. And I love Hideo. I feel so bad that he's been like he's supposed to have big moments and he's been screwed, like you said, because of injury, you know.
Right.
He was supposed to team up with Kota Ibushi in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, you know, shortly after he returned. And he got injured again. And I bet you had he not gotten injured and had Austin Aries not suffered a fractured eye socket, they would have been in the finals. It would have been Itami and Ibushi versus Aries and Roode. Not Roode, Aries and Roddy. And then it would have led to Itami and Aries in some big kind of match at one of the TakeOver specials. So I feel bad that Hideo Itami has had his run in WWE derailed by numerous injuries because he came in red hot. Remember when he first debuted in 2014?
Yeah, and Hulk Hogan and Triple H endorsed him.
Yeah. So when you're getting that kind of endorsement, you know you're something. You know you're a big deal in WWE. And you know you're something special. And he started off well, but then he got injured in May of 2015 around TakeOver Unstoppable. He wasn't seen. He didn't come back until a year later. And I missed, you know, I got to see Hideo not only at WrestleMania 31, but I got to see him win the right to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is so awesome. You know,
Yeah.
at WrestleMania 31.
Definitely.
He's great performer. I just hate that you know, injuries have derailed him. You know, I don't want to say he's injury prone, but you gotta. I mean, you know that is what it is. But you know, I was rooting for him. I love Bobby Roode, but I was rooting for him because I wanted to see him have his moment. And like I said, I thought they put on a very good match, very hard hitting. I like what they did with Bobby Roode hurting himself, injuring his shoulder when he crashed into the ring post. And I like that Hideo Itami was trying to capitalize by doing the hesitation drop kick with Roode against the steel stairs, and he missed. So that ended up injuring Hideo's ankle. So both guys had something to fight through with regards to pain. I like that little story because it wasn't like, oh, Roode has an injured shoulder that gives Itami the advantage. They both got injured. So it was going to really come down to which of them could fight through the pain and, you know, and ultimately topple the other one. Like you said, Hideo did hit the GTS, but Bobby Roode got out of the ring as a result of that. And I did like the finish with Bobby Roode hitting one glorious DDT and then rolling through like Cena did at the Royal Rumble and hitting a second glorious DDT to put an exclamation point on it. Great finish to the match. I also liked how Bobby Roode went for the glorious DDT at one point and his shoulder gave out, and then he fought through it when he went for it again. So I enjoyed the storytelling. Really good storytelling throughout a lot of these matches. You know, that's the common theme I noticed. So very good match between these two. Hideo Itami, you know, didn't get the win, unfortunately for him. Bobby Roode continues the glorious era, and now we move on to who his next contender may be. So, Brandon, who do you think would be the best challenger for Bobby Roode at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn? Assuming there's not another TakeOver special before then.
Definitely Drew McIntyre. You know, I thought when he first, you know, came back to NXT and WWE that he would have a better run than he did the first time, but this much better. Like, you know, they're having him win, you know, every time he goes out there, and you know, why not just capitalize on that momentum by putting him in the main event of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn? And I feel that him and Bobby Roode can really tear the house down. I think they could have a great match together. So
Yeah.
I definitely feel that McIntyre should be the one to wrestle him in Brooklyn.
Definitely. You know, Drew McIntyre, he's since returning to NXT, he's come back with a vengeance, with aggression. I love the sick kick that he uses as his finisher. He's got more of like a strong style to him. McIntyre's looking great, and you know, you got to believe they're going to do big things with him in NXT. And then when he goes up to the main roster, hopefully they'll treat him better. He'll have a better run with whatever titles he wins, including the world title, hopefully, depending on where he goes. But for now, Drew McIntyre is doing big things, and I'm invested. I love what I'm seeing. I love this aggressive side of Drew McIntyre. You know, I think he should have been a big star the first time he was in the company, but, you know, things happen. And maybe he could say it was a blessing because he's back and he's better than ever.
Definitely. You know, he was on the indie scene for what, like two and a half years, and you know, he made a name for himself, and him being in NXT was the best possible thing that could have happened to Drew. And again, they need to capitalize on this by giving him the main event of TakeOver Brooklyn. And again, I think him and Roode would, you know, tear the house down. I don't think he'll win the championship per se, but I think him getting in the main event will be a mighty big step for him.
I think what they should do is, if he is in the main event of TakeOver Brooklyn against Roode, they need to have it to where he comes so close to beating Bobby Roode that even if Bobby Roode finds a way to retain, Bobby Roode knows that Drew McIntyre has his number. Because if you want to like make it realistic, Drew McIntyre should be able to just knock off Bobby Roode easily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I do hope Hideo Itami gets an NXT championship run before he gets called up to the main roster, because I think it would be a shame if he doesn't and he gets called to the main roster, because Hideo has been through so much crap, not politically or backstage, but just injury wise, that he deserves that title, you know.
He does. I don't know, maybe he'll get it, but I really feel that his destiny on the main roster is the cruiserweight division, as sad as it is to say.
Yeah. Well, if he goes to the main roster, he has to feud with Balor eventually. They gotta have a big match at Mania or SummerSlam.
That would be awesome.
That would, because they had a really good match at WrestleMania Access, that tournament final. But I want to see him have a big time marquee match on a pay-per-view. So I'm sure we'll get it one day, but we'll see where Hideo Itami goes from here. I like him. I'm a big fan of him, and I just hope he gets the NXT title before he goes to the main roster.
Yep, we'll see what happens.
All right, Brandon. So we made it to the main event of the show, which was the NXT Tag Team Championship ladder match. AOP, the Authors of Pain, against #DIY. Like I said, Brandon, when I found out this was going to be the main event, one, I was excited, but two, I was really surprised. And then I thought, okay, something's going to happen. Something big. I don't know what, but we'll find out. Now, the match, I thought it was a great ladder match. You know, this once again established the Authors of Pain as just unstoppable, dominant monsters. And I love the story of #DIY trying everything they could to dethrone the Authors of Pain. They wouldn't stop. You know, they had good advantage early on using their speed and whatnot to take AOP off guard, or to you know, knock them off their base and everything. But AOP are just monsters, dude. You saw how they were just beating the hell out of DIY. Johnny Gargano almost got his head taken off from a ladder shot. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was really, really cringeworthy, especially in the crowd. But as for the rest of the match, you know, being in the building live, it was awesome. It was definitely an awesome ladder match. Lots of really, really insane bumps here. I was happy to get on a video the double ladder spot on the outside. Johnny Gargano's ladder didn't break, but Tommaso Ciampa's ladder did break.
Yeah.
But it was just an absolutely insane match. And also the German suplex that Tommaso Ciampa did to, I think it may have been Rezar, off the ladder, and the ladder on the corner literally split in two.
It did. It was Rezar. That was the most insane. I think that was the most insane spot of the match. The double dive by DIY onto AOP was awesome, don't get me wrong. But I think that was just insane that Ciampa did that move, Rezar didn't die, and that freaking ladder split in half. That was the holy shit moment of the match.
Probably the moment of the night.
Yeah, that was just insane. I mean, you had Paul Eller. There was one. I remember this. This is before that, I think, or it may have been after. I remember Gargano or not Gargano. Ciampa is fighting one member of AOP, and while the other member of AOP is trying to position the ladder, Ciampa jumps onto the ladder trying to climb it to get the titles. That was great. You had Johnny Gargano come so close to getting the titles, and then Paul Ellering got into the ring and knocked him off. And he ate a super kick for his troubles. It's great storytelling in this match. Hashtag DIY trying to get those belts back, doing whatever they could. And they took a beating from DIY. And just that moment where Gargano took the ladder to the face and almost got his head taken off, and Ciampa's concern, it was just great, man. For me, I appreciate great storytelling like that. I mean, how could you not feel bad for Johnny Gargano after he nearly got his head taken off from that? Like, nearly got beheaded.
Yeah, and I think a tooth flew out as well.
Oh shit! I don't know. I hope not, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a really, really crazy spot. Honestly, when I saw that they were putting this match up on last, and before this match, I did predict DIY to win the belts back. I thought that they just wanted to end the show on a high note and for DIY to, win the championship back, but that was not the case. So we might as well talk about what happened at the end.
Might as well, because I honestly thought, okay, if this is going on last, either DIY is going to win and they're going to have a huge celebration in Chicago, or they're going to lose and Ciampa is going to betray Gargano, or Adam Cole's going to come out and he's going to blind shot Gargano, blindside him, and then Gargano or Ciampa and Cole are going to form an alliance or something. That's what I was thinking. So at the end of the match, DIY are so close to getting the tag team championships, but AOP kicks the ladder from underneath them. They're left hanging. AOP then grabs DIY. They hit him with the super collider. They climb the ladder, and AOP retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. And real quick, I found it funny that AOP were constantly holding the ladder for one another when they had to climb, because they're big dudes. I mean, they're not cruiserweights or anything. You know what I'm saying? But after the match, DIY, they're heartbroken. They wanted a great Chicago homecoming. Crowd was applauding them, giving them a standing ovation, chanting, "Thank you, DIY. Thank you, Ciampa. Thank you, Gargano." They're going up the ramp. Now, this is for me watching it on TV on the network. So the little NXT logo appears, TakeOver Chicago, production of WWE, and Gargano's, Ciampa's hugging Gargano, and I'm thinking, wow, it's gonna end like that with them just celebrating. But no, I don't know what Ciampa said, but he throws freaking Gargano into the LED stage and proceeds to just pound the shit out of him. I mean, he hit him with stiff knees to the face. Then he put him on the freaking announce table, and I'm thinking he's going to put him through the table. Not the case. Picks him up, hits him with white noise off the table onto some kind of electrical set or whatever. It was one of the most savage beatdowns I ever saw, Brandon. It was kind of hard to watch, but it was like, wow, this is Psycho Killer Ciampa at his best. I didn't want it to happen, but I predicted it was going to eventually happen, because these guys have to eventually fight. It's been written in the books for a while now. It was a savage beatdown. It was a great beatdown. Probably one of the best I've ever seen in WWE, but it was kind of hard to watch at times. But Ciampa, they call him Psycho Killer for a reason. What were your thoughts when it went down?
Let me first just say this was the most savage beatdown in WWE since Seth Rollins broke up the Shield.
Yeah.
In the building, everybody was just pissed off at this. Nobody wanted to see DIY break up. I didn't want to see DIY break up. The fans just were booing the hell out of Ciampa. And there was a chant at the very end of the show. I'm not going to repeat it here, but it was very, very audible on the network when I saw it back a day later. But it like the angle itself, it was very, very well done. It truly was very well done, but I just did not want to see DIY break up. There are pros and there are cons of DIY breaking up. A con of breaking up DIY is that you're taking out a very, very big piece of the NXT tag team division because, you know, you have TM61 still out with injury. So who are you going to have face the Authors of Pain in Brooklyn? Who? Heavy Machinery, I guess.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna
what,
be
you don't have any other teams. And
yeah.
but a pro of breaking up DIY is that, you know, we can finally see those two guys go off as singles competitors, because I feel that both guys are better as singles competitors than they are in the tag team division. Johnny Gargano especially. And hopefully we can see, you know, a big time match between them two in Brooklyn.
I think it's gonna happen at Brooklyn. Like, yeah, I totally agree with you. I didn't want to see him break up, but I did want to see the breakup eventually happen because, like I said, Brandon, I think this goes back to the Cruiserweight Classic when Gargano beat Ciampa, even after Ciampa hit him with every move he had in the book. I mean, like, Gargano took a beating, and he managed to beat his best friend and tag team partner in an awesome match from the Cruiserweight Classic. So I feel like this has been building for almost a year, and I honestly thought they would have split up at NXT TakeOver back to Brooklyn last year when they lost to the Revival, but they didn't. They dethroned the Revival in the match of the year for NXT, the best match at NXT TakeOver Toronto, that incredible 2 out of 3 falls match. I love DIY. They're great. I felt like they were a great team, but the reason I wanted to see this, the only reason I wanted to see the breakup was because I feel like there's a more compelling story to tell in a feud between these two. And imagine if the NXT Championship gets brought into the picture. Imagine if one of them wins it and the other's going after it. So I do totally agree that there are pros and cons. TM61 is still out with, I think it's Shane Thorne who got injured. You only have Heavy Machinery, who are going to most likely fight AOP next. But I'm looking forward to the whole battle of former DIY brothers. I think it's going to be one of the most compelling stories NXT's ever told.
Definitely, and I'm just very looking forward to seeing what they do here on NXT. I also said this too in my review, that them going to 205 Live when they get called up to the main roster would be the death of both of them. You can't just call them both up to 205 Live, you know. I really feel that they're more than the Cruiserweight division, and you know, if this story does stem over to the main roster, they just cannot go straight to 205 Live.
No, I totally agree. Like, I did a fantasy booking video for the shakeup, before the Superstar shakeup happened. And I said that if I was going to split DIY up, I'd send Johnny Gargano to the Cruiserweight division on Raw just for a short period. And then after he won it, because he can definitely be Intercontinental Champion. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't need the Cruiserweight title. But I would split them up, keep them apart from each other on separate brands. And then one day I'd bring one of them over to the other, probably Gargano over to SmackDown, and do big things with them there. But yeah, they don't need to be in the Cruiserweight division. Honestly, I don't even know if the Cruiserweight division should be around, because ever since they got to Raw, it hasn't been the same.
I barely watch 205 Live anymore.
I don't watch 205 Live. It's not the same. You know, it's the Cruiserweight Classic was incredible. How do you not capitalize off that? You know, I hate it. You know, I can only imagine how frustrated Triple H and William Regal must be after the hard work they put into that tournament, and how everybody in that tournament looked great, and now look what they're reduced to on the main roster. See, that's why I don't watch Raw, and that's why maybe there shouldn't be a Cruiserweight division. Maybe some should be on SmackDown and others should be on Raw. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, most definitely.
Because Cedric Alexander could do great things as, like, United States champion on SmackDown. TJP could be a good Intercontinental champion. Brian Kendrick, as a veteran, he could hold one of those titles. You know, like, I don't think we really need a Cruiserweight division at this point. Nothing against the Cruiserweights themselves. It's just how the division's being presented on Raw. It's being presented like shit. You know, I don't like it.
I don't like it either. And again, them going to 205 Live would be the death of them.
Yes. You know, like, we could probably make a separate video about this, Brandon. Hey, you know, Akira Tozawa, he has a best friend on the main roster. I believe that guy's name's Apollo Crews. Pair them up as a tag team, you know? Maybe have them fight the Hardys. That'd be great. That's a fresh team.
Definitely.
Cedric Alexander, put him on SmackDown where he can mix it up with Sami Zayn, Ziggler, Owens, AJ, and Nakamura. Holy shit, man. Look at those marquee matches right there. You know what I'm saying?
I think Cedric Alexander, not just the United States Championship, I think, you know, within maybe 2 or 3 years, I think he truly has world championship potential or universal championship potential.
He used to be like over 200 pounds in ROH because I think they wanted to make him a world champ. But yeah, he can transcend the division, and I know we were talking about DIY and we jumped into the cruiserweight division. We're going to go back to that match in a minute. But yeah, man, just like real quick, I think the cruiserweights need to go to different brands. Just drop the cruiserweight division. Have guys like TJP, Brian Kendrick, Akira Tozawa, Neville, of course, Austin Aries. Have them fight on different brands for different titles. I think the cruiserweight division on Raw just needs to die, and certain cruiserweights need to go to SmackDown, and others can stay on Raw.
Agreed.
And then you can push them toward Intercontinental or United States Championship glory, whichever show they're on.
Definitely.
Yeah. But getting back to the main event, is there anything else you wanted to say, Brandon, about the tag team title match or the betrayal by Ciampa? Anything else like that stood out to you, or anything else you just want to add?
Just that Tommaso just got an enormous amount of heat in the building, and when the show went off the air, Ciampa was still sitting on the table, as fans were heading for the exits. It was, it truly was a great, well put together angle.
It definitely was. I don't think they would have done it that well on Raw, or they probably might have done it well on the main roster. But here in NXT, it just had so much realism to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it had me thinking the show was just going to end that way with, Gargano or Ciampa got his arm around Gargano saying something to him, because I saw the little logo, and then he threw him while the logo was still on the screen. So that was a great swerve right there, but a lot of us predicted probably this was going to be the end of DIY. If it was going to end in any match, I think this was perfect, with the heartbreak and everything. And in Chicago, where the crowd's going to really just, they're going to react passionately.
And they did, Chicago definitely has a lot of NXT fans, and it just got over big time. It really got over big with one of the best markets for wrestling really in the United States. Definitely. And again, just a great angle. I'm very sad to see DIY go, but I have to give them credit. This angle was tremendous. And of course, at the end of the show, or I think this may have been on WWE's YouTube channel, Gargano had to be carried out on a stretcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. They mentioned it. Yep. So a shocking ending to an overall real good NXT TakeOver special. Overall, Brandon, I'm giving the show 8.5 out of 10. I just really enjoyed it from start to finish. Great Chicago crowd. Great storytelling throughout the matches. Match of the night was clearly the United Kingdom Championship match. I just was blown away by everything that they did. If we're talking about overall match of the year, I'd have to give the slight edge to that match. But if we're talking about like separate WWE and NXT match of the year, the NXT match of the year so far is Bate and Dunne from TakeOver from Chicago. And I have to say the WWE match of the year so far is Styles and Cena from the Rumble.
Yeah, I agree with both of those statements. Honestly, I would, like, if we're combining both of them, I'd put the Bate Dunne match over Cena and AJ, but, both matches were just absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. If I had to pick one overall match of the year so far, it's Dunne and Bate. That was just awesome. And some might say like, hey, you gave the Cena Styles match 4.25 and you gave this one 4.5. Well, hey, match ratings really don't affect my decision. I mean, just go back and watch Dunne and Bate, and you'll see what I mean. That was just awesome.
It's a subjective thing. That's what it is.
Yeah, indeed. Match ratings mean a lot. I mean, yeah, we're entitled to match rate, whoever, rate the match what we want. But honestly, Dunne and Bate had more of an epic feel to it than Styles and Cena. And that's not taken away from Styles and Cena, because at the Rumble, the only SmackDown Live match on that card delivered big time.
In front of 50,000 people in the Alamo Dome.
Yep. Brandon, so final thoughts on NXT TakeOver Chicago and your overall rating?
Just total thumbs up. I truly believe that this was the best TakeOver special of all time. I give the show a 9.5 out of 10, and just being in the building just only enhances my rating even more. I love this show, just top to bottom, start to finish, and I love I really like the NXT TV taping as well. So I definitely had just a tremendous evening on Saturday.
Definitely. So, real quick, Brandon, I just want to ask you, what do you see as the future for NXT? What do you see with the next few weeks, leading into NXT TakeOver Chicago? What are you looking forward to the most? What do you think is going to happen? Just like real quick predictions or thoughts, whatever you want to call them.
Well, first of all, let me just say I think the future of NXT is very, very bright now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the brand got really, really gutted, especially with the WWE draft and afterward, with a lot of their guys getting called up.
Yeah.
But I really feel the next few weeks, you're going to be seeing stars that you really wouldn't expect to be pushed all the way to the top of the brand, be pushed to the top of the brand. Like I said, Drew McIntyre, I expect him to be the next challenger for Bobby Roode for the championship in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We're gonna hopefully finally have Ember Moon have her big moment. It's gonna be almost a year when TakeOver Brooklyn comes that she made her debut in NXT by beating Billie Kay at Brooklyn last year.
Yeah.
And 1 year later, hopefully she'll be the one holding the championship. Or again, the winner of the Mae Young Classic. It's a great way to get a new woman over by having her beat the undefeated Asuka. She's been undefeated for a year and a half, 2 years, for crying out loud. So
Almost two.
I think I really feel what you're going to be seeing over the summer is new, fresh faces getting pushed, and I think fans are going to really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think so too. Like you said, when Balor, American Alpha, Nia Jax, Carmella, and Alexa Bliss got called up to the main roster during the draft last summer, it hurt NXT. Even though NXT was getting Ember Moon, they were getting, they were building up Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, DIY, and the Revival were making a statement in the tag team division. It did hurt NXT. Now they've regained momentum with the additions of Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black. Roddy is gaining momentum. So NXT's back in the saddle. They've regained momentum. Things are looking very bright for them. I love NXT. Been a proud NXT fan for almost 3 years now. And I feel like they're just doing, it does suck when your favorite NXT star gets called up to the main roster, which is kind of like a pro and a con, because you get to see them on the main roster, but NXT does lose a big star, and you're going to miss seeing them, and you don't want anything bad to happen to them on the main roster. But I like what they're doing. McIntyre most likely will be a world title contender. Aleister Black's future looks bright. Andrade Cien Almas, they use him as enhancement talent for the new stars, but I like the guy. I feel he's very underrated. I like how he's this playboy, this cocky playboy with the luchador style. I like it. Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, I feel like can be top women stars in the future.
I loved seeing them get pushed, definitely.
Yeah. Liv Morgan, I think, has a good chance at being a good women's wrestler in the future. And I love Ember Moon. She's definitely the future of the women's division. Nikki Cross, don't drop the ball with her. She's doing great things. I want to see Ruby Riot. So, yeah, NXT has a very colorful, diverse roster, stronger than it was like a few months ago. So their future is bright. And you were talking about the Mae Young Classic. Who are some women you would love to see in that tournament?
Let me see. A couple that come to mind for me are Veda Scott from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I know her.
And let me think of some women out in the indie scene. I know WWE signed a couple of women from the Stardom promotion in Japan, so I'd love to see them go far in the tournament. But right now, I think the number one person that comes to mind for me is Veda Scott.
I'm surprised, dude, you didn't say Lady Scarlet.
I really don't think she's good enough as a wrestler to be in the tournament, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I would love to see Tessa Blanchard, Mandy Leon,
Rachel Ellering.
Yep, I just saw Rachel Ellering a few weeks ago in San Francisco at the APW show. She's great. I'd love to see Eva Lise from Lucha Underground, although I don't know if they'll let her wrestle, because if you're contracted with Lucha Underground, you can't do things out. You can't do anything in the WWE, I believe, or something like that. I don't know. That'd be great. But no, Tessa Blanchard for sure. Mandy Leon for sure. See, I don't know too many women's wrestlers outside of WWE. Veda Scott would be great, like you said. Maybe Taylor Hendricks.
Taylor Hendricks, yeah.
Yeah. Candice LeRae would be great.
Keep in mind, too, this is only a 2-day tournament.
And there's supposed to be 32 competitors, right?
Yeah. It's not like the Cruiserweight Classic where they're just going to drag this thing out for 10 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be like the UK tournament. Oh, shit. That's right. Well, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited that the success of the Cruiserweight Classic spawned this tournament. I'm excited that the women are going to get a chance to shine on the WWE Network in a tournament of this caliber. So I'm excited. Maybe we'll do a preview video or something like that. But, oh, okay, hold on. Before we go off the air, guys, I want to ask Brandon something. Do you still play WWE Champions?
I honestly don't. I still have the app, but I honestly have not played it in like a month plus.
I'm sorry, Brandon. I gave up on that game. I deleted it for a number of reasons. I got fed up with it. I was, it's not easy acquiring tokens to level up your characters. I was sick and tired of guys using overpowered John Cena guys in versus mode and killing me with one move. I was sick of that. But the biggest frustration I had with this game was it wouldn't let me play the modes because it kept saying there was no internet connection when my phone clearly had internet and I could use my other online apps. So I deleted it. I'm done with the game. I just am done. I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm not going back to that game until they fix it. They fix it big time. I'm playing Injustice 2, and Injustice 2 is so worth my time.
Here's just a valuable lesson for people who love to play games on their phone. People, freemium isn't free. Okay, I can't believe the amount of money that people like to spend on games like Candy Crush and I don't know, Angry Birds or something like that. Like, people spend a ridiculous amount of money on these games, and just a valuable lesson to go by, people, is that freemium isn't free. And WWE Champions is a great example of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, a game like Injustice or Injustice 2, you can spend money in it, but it's a game where it's made very conveniently to where with time you can acquire new characters and everything without really having to put in real money in the game. There are some games like Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 where putting money in the game is acceptable. You don't have to put a lot of money in, just enough to get what you need, and then the rest of it is pretty simple because they make it convenient enough where you can acquire gems, credits, shards, whatever you need, and level up your characters a lot easier than freaking WWE Champions made it. And granted, WWE Champions was fun while it lasted. I'm going to give them that, but I just couldn't do it anymore, Brandon. It just got so frustrating to where it's like, I don't want to really waste my time with this game with Injustice 2 coming out. Injustice 2, I've only spent, I want to say, maybe $13, and that's it. And I've still got so much higher in it. I haven't spent a lot, and I have so much, so.
Oh, definitely.
Like you said, yeah, premium isn't always free. But, I mean, that's how apps make their money. I don't go spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these games. I'll maybe spend 20, maybe 40 if I'm feeling in a good mood and I want to get something special. Because that's how apps make their money. But I don't go spending like thousands of dollars on apps, because eventually you can just play the game without spending money.
God, it just infuriates me that people actually spend that much. Yeah, WWE Champions, I don't play it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, guys, that will do it for episode 4 of Robbie and Brandon Review. This was a very special review. It was great to hear Brandon's thoughts on NXT TakeOver Chicago and his live experience. Real quick, Brandon, is there anything else that stood out to you live about NXT TakeOver Chicago that you want to share? Whether it was entering the arena, waiting for the show to start, after the show, anything else that stuck out to you?
Well, actually, this was like during the pre-show, with Charlie Caruso and everybody talking. Some people started to chant for CM Punk. This also happened too at the Backlash pay-per-view. I wasn't there live for that, but when people started to chant the CM Punk, fans just immediately showered them in boos, and I'm like, thank you, because CM Punk is never coming back. That chant is so overused, and I was so happy that the fans booed those who started chanting for CM Punk.
I was at Payback in San Jose a few weeks ago, Brandon, and they were chanting CM Punk while I was waiting in the merch stand, the merch line.
Oh no!
Like, I love Punk, but he's not coming back. Okay, you are entitled to chant for him, but he's not coming back.
Never.
He's never coming back unless unless the company changes big time and they compensate him in a huge way for what happened. He wasn't at the show, was he? Because I saw this image.
No, it was totally photoshopped. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I figured, because if they showed him, I thought, okay, maybe they just cut it out of the encore. Cause yeah, but no, I saw this image on Facebook, but it's photoshopped. Yeah.
It is 100% Photoshop, 100% fake.
Yeah. Were you surprised Adam Cole didn't show up at TakeOver?
I was. I totally was surprised that Adam Cole did not show up for the show. I totally expected him to be sitting in the front row. I think a lot of people, even before the show, I went with my dad to go to eat at Culver's. It's a burger place. And a couple people were wearing Adam Cole shirts. A couple people were wearing Bullet Club shirts. So they were expecting Adam Cole to be there, and he wasn't. And I think a lot of people were really underwhelmed because of that. I was, most definitely.
Yeah. Now that's not to say that Adam Cole won't be in NXT soon. It's just a matter of when they bring him in.
Definitely.
Now, you think he'll show up at Brooklyn?
Yes, definitely. He will be in Brooklyn, I feel.
I think Brooklyn's the best time for him to show up. That Brooklyn crowd's going to be lit. They're going to be excited. I think that's the best time to debut Adam Cole.
Definitely, yeah. It would definitely be the best time to debut this man, and the fans are going to really, I think will be very, very anticipated for that. I know I will definitely be anticipated for that. Again, I was a little bit underwhelmed that we didn't see him in the crowd, but still, it does not take away from the experience, because I had just one hell of a time. And just if NXT is in your area, you definitely need to try and make your way to a show, because it's truly an incredible experience to be at.
Definitely was. I went to NXT San Jose in October, and it was just an awesome show, an awesome house show. I got to see Nakamura shortly before he lost the NXT title. Asuka, Ember Moon, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe. It was awesome. It was a great experience. NXT makes you feel welcomed and special. When you go to a show, they make you feel like, they guarantee you have a great time. It was awesome. I'll definitely go to another NXT show. If WrestleMania comes back to the Bay Area, Brandon, and they do NXT TakeOver San Jose or NXT TakeOver Silicon Valley, you bet your Chicago loving ass I'm there, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's such an incredible experience. I was definitely incredibly blessed to be there, and and hopefully I'll go to more shows this summer, and I plan on going back to Wizard World this summer, and hopefully I can meet another WWE superstar like I did with Becky Lynch last year.
Yes. I was happy for you when that happened. Real quick, merch. Did you get any merchandise?
I did not. They're as expected. They were crazy expensive, and I did look at Bobby Roode's shirt, but I figured, I can probably get it cheaper on a WWE shop. So I did not come out of the Allstate Arena with merch.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I know I was trying to close. I was trying to sign us off, but I did just want to ask, what about other guys like Cassius Ohno? I mentioned Andrade Cien Almas. Where do you see those guys? later this year. Yeah, where do you see guys like that later in the year?
You know, I was shocked, first of all, that Cassius Ohno was not on the NXT TakeOver card. I definitely expected him to be there, but he wasn't. Um, you know, I hope that Cassius Ohno gets a shot at the NXT Championship. You know, I've grown to appreciate Andrade Cien Almas and his heel character. You know, I feel that he's, you know, um, I feel that he's worked into that character very, very well for himself, and you know, hopefully he can do some things. He's another one, much like Roderick Strong that I was mentioning earlier, that can benefit from possibly having a secondary NXT championship. And yeah, he can definitely do that. And again, the future of NXT is bright, and you know they have stars now. You know, I feel that they've replenished themselves, and just again, I really feel that this brand has a lot to look forward to.
Definitely. And you know, speaking of Andrade, that they turned him heel. They didn't. I don't think this was the intention, but they turned him heel when they put him against Ty Dillinger in his first match.
Oh, definitely.
I
Oh
think,
yeah, that was the death of him basically as a babyface.
yeah, I think if he debuted against somebody like a Wesley Blake, a Buddy Murphy, who the fans I don't want to say don't care about, but someone that they're not invested in, put it like that way, that might not be a fan favorite, then he would have done fine as a babyface. But you put him against Ty Dillinger, you pretty much are turning him heel.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they did.
Yeah. And that wasn't their intention. I know they wanted to get him over as a babyface first, and it's a good thing they turned him heel because he's doing some real good things as a heel. But Bobby Roode, yeah, you think they're booing Bobby Roode against him at Brooklyn last year? Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no. That further put him as a heel because you're putting him up against the glorious one who's having an anticipated debut. Yeah, this guy's heel. You pretty much screwed him.
You did. Yeah, they did. And but again, he's woven into this new heel role, I think, very, very well. And you know, again, just hopefully he can do some more great things in NXT. And again, he'd be the one that I think would benefit, much like Roddy, with a secondary championship.
Yep. I don't know who else they can feud that Andrade can feud with right now, but I don't want them to drop the ball with him. Keep pushing him. Yeah, just I hope. Yeah, they have bright young talent on their roster. It's just a matter of pushing them properly because unfortunately you can get lost in the shuffle, and I think that was the case with Austin Aries a little bit when they turned him heel, because there wasn't really much for him to do other than the feud with Nakamura and the feud with No Way Jose and the potential feud with Itami, but of course injuries derailed that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, we're gonna sign off for today, guys. Thank you for joining us. For those who watched live and for those who will watch later today, once this video is fully rendered on my channel. This has been episode 4 of Robbie and Brandon Review. And of course, Brandon, I want to thank you as always for joining me for our reviews. And you do have I'm gonna give you a chance to plug your social media. I know you're no longer on YouTube, but I will give you a chance to plug the social media where people can find you and support you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at WRC Brandon. I'll be tweeting live during future WWE events. I'll be tweeting live during the NBA Finals coming up in the next week. And you can follow me on Instagram _BetaJesus1997. I post a lot of cool pictures on there of events that I'm at and stuff. And yeah, just I'll be active on social media. You can find me there. Give me a follow. And yeah, and I truly enjoyed being part of this review, and I really enjoyed talking about my live experience.
Definitely, man. And what about the radio show? Where can they find you for your radio show, for your Sports Authority?
Well, we're not on the Sports Authority as far as on the radio itself, not until the next semester, but you can like our Facebook page, the Sports Authority with Brennan and Jacob, WRC 88.7. You can like us on Facebook there. I do Sports Authority shorts. I did one actually on NXT TakeOver, so you can get even more of my thoughts on what I thought of the show live. You can like us there on Facebook. And Yeah, and Jacob and I will be back with more shows coming up next semester, and we're really looking forward to that.
Definitely. And of course, guys, you know where you can find me, Robbie One Kenobi. You can find me here on my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Twitter at Robbie One Kenobi, just like it's spelled here on my YouTube channel. You know, please continue to support my channel, my videos. You know, Brandon and I, we really working hard to get our videos, to get this series up from out of the ground, so to speak. You know, we haven't really gotten many views video-wise since we started. So, guys, if you know people who are as passionate as we are about wrestling, who are going to enjoy this style of video, please do us a favor and pass the videos along to them so we can get, you know, more views, more support. We do enjoy doing this series, but we would really appreciate the support and everything. So, yeah, make sure to tweet this video to your friends, pass it along to them, share it with them however you can. And, you know, Brandon and I will be up here to keep giving you guys the best reviews that we can. So with that said, this will conclude episode 4 of Robbie and Brandon Review. Like, comment, and subscribe as always, guys, and make sure to go support Brandon on his social media. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Everybody have a good day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see y'all there.
Peace.